everyone. It's good to be speaking to you again. To start, I would like to say that this is my testimony video, and while how I came to be saved is a rather short story, the story that follows is an incredible journey that I'm blessed to be a part of. How I came to be saved is really simple. I was 5 years old, but I'd grown up with Christ my entire life. My father's been a pastor since the day I was born, and in truth, I've grown up with Christ all my days. So when I came to accept Christ to be my Savior, it was really simple. It was an easy thing, really. What followed afterwards was really interesting. At the time, I was 5 years old, and we were traveling around the U.S. raising money to move overseas to be missionaries. After I was saved, we moved overseas, and that is where I was baptized. I was baptized in what could basically be called a bathtub, in what was a youth center at the time. My parents had started a youth center to hopefully minister to the young people of the country. It was really an incredible place to be at the time. I feel blessed to have been a part of such an incredible journey. My family worked to just reach out to those that didn't know Christ, and sadly, after a few years, we had to move back. We moved back to the States and traveled around in RV again, and we just went to different churches. We visited others who were ministering to those that needed Christ. We encouraged churches, and we shared our testimony. My parents shared what it was like living overseas, what it was to be around people that didn't even know the name of Christ. It was a great blessing, and I was truly grateful for it. After some time, we moved back to Kentucky to live. My father actually got a job as a youth pastor when we moved there, and we were blessed to be in a church that truly cared about us. It was a good church, and the people there were kind. Sadly, though, after only a short time, or at least what only feels like a short time, my father was fired. In truth, this affected my walk more than probably anything else had so far. I had been just walking along probably slowly, maybe even not moving much in my relationship. But during this point in my life, sadly, I struggled. I asked God why. I didn't understand why it is God would take us away from something that felt so good. It felt perfect, it felt fine. But God soon proved to us that He had better plans for us. He allowed my father to get a new job at another church. He was a youth pastor there too, and truly I can say that the people there were even better. They were so encouraging and so kind. They welcomed us in, and honestly, I was so blessed to be in that church. They were working to grow. They wanted to invite new people. They wanted to grow and just expand. They wanted to bring people to Christ, which was a truly great thing. After some time, I began to just work on figuring out what it is that God wanted me to do with my life. I knew that God had some kind of plan for me, but I couldn't figure out what. I was blessed. I've been blessed since I was young to have a passion for reading. I love it, and I absolutely just loved reading different stories. But I was blessed to one day just stumble upon missionary stories. I began reading these, and I was amazed at the fact that not only were there people out there that had never heard the name of Christ, but there were missionaries out there who were suffering. I thought, truthfully, that was only a biblical thing. I thought that people getting persecuted for their faith was something that was in the past. But after reading these books, I was shocked to find that there were so many people that didn't know Christ, and there were so many people that were struggling to share Christ's love. I began to have a heart for mission work, and for a while I think my parents and my family knew that that's something that I was probably going to be called to, but I don't think they fully realized until one day when I went up in front of my entire church and announced that I wanted to be a missionary someday. My mom and dad, from that point on, began thinking. At the time, we were living in Somerset, Kentucky, a rather small town kind of area. There wasn't a lot of diversity, not a lot of different people or ethnicities, groups. But my parents knew that if I wanted to be a missionary, I should really be prepared for that. So they began looking at cities. They began looking for places that we could move that would allow me to experience a more diverse culture. They looked at places from out of state to in state, but eventually we settled on New York. We found that we just loved the area and we loved the idea of moving to New York. As many of you know, we ended up moving here to plant a church. We didn't end up planting where we originally thought we would, but I can honestly say that the area where we moved to has been such a blessing. The people here need Christ just as much as the people that I read about in the books. Some people that are twice my age have never heard the Bible stories I grew up with, which was insane to me. It felt crazy to think that people who live in America, who are around Christians every day, there are Catholics, there are different groups here, but it's amazing to me that there's still so many people that haven't heard the name of Christ. It's amazing that there's so many people here who may be rough around the edges, but they just need God's love. I truly began to grow while here, and I just felt a heart for the people here. I still do, and I still cannot wait to see what God has in store. I'm looking forward to just continuing to grow in my relationship and seeing where God has for me. And I really, honestly cannot wait to see what God has in store for my entire family as well. In conclusion, though, like I said, the beginning of my story may be short, what followed is truly incredible. I'm so happy to be one of God's children, and I cannot wait to see what He has for the rest of my life.